And then I got to switch over, put the highlights on. And we are good. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CAOverwatch. We have a very special guest for you guys today. We have Eric from the Toronto Overwatch League Beer League. Now, if you guys are as intrigued as beer and Overwatch as we are, this is the episode for you. Hello, Eric. How's it going today?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We are good.
Pretty good.
We're good.
I'm already thinking about beer.
I know, right? That's what I was hoping we had done
Great way
this.
to start your weekend.
Yeah, like last time it was supposed to be Friday night, right? Like I had a couple of beer ready to go. Like it was all. Now I got a couple of coffees, but it's all good, you know. Making the most out of
Coffees with Baileys?
Yeah, no, unfortunately not.
Yeah, it's just something to look forward to for the end of the day, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So Eric, we wanted to, I guess, chat with you a little bit today about, how you got the beer league started, a little bit more about yourself. So I guess I just want to start with a little bit about, tell me about like your story. So, your backgrounds, why you started this beer league and a little bit more about, I guess, what your day job is or what do you do outside of the beer league?
Oh yeah, for sure. So oddly enough, like I am not someone from like the esports world. My actual my day job is I work in film. I'm an assistant director. I'm a member of the Directors Guild of Canada, and most of my days I'm literally on sets working, like basically dealing with the logistics of a film shooting day. So I think that's partly why running something like a league actually worked pretty well for me, is because I'm very used to organizing people and making a plan and executing that plan in terms of events for a day. But yeah, my actual like background in esports, to be honest, has been pretty there's been a huge gap between like basically I went from playing online games when I was like in high school and university. I'd play games like Counter-Strike, Battlefield, and Call of Duty and stuff like that.
Classics.
And yeah. And then I basically went on like a huge, just like fell off of it completely up until Overwatch, really.
Wow, so Overwatch shot you back.
Yeah, it really did, yeah. And there was just something about like it was just such a sticky game, and there was something about the way that like the competitive environment worked in that game that just really appealed to me. And what I found, and it was me and a buddy of mine that started the league when we were playing it, and we would play together online and stuff, is that while we enjoyed the experience, we just found that there was an element that we just found was missing, which is that playing online all the time just feels a little hollow over time, right? And we used to play like rec league soccer together and just play stuff like that, and that was something we used to really enjoy. And we weren't really doing that so much. We moved into the city, and like it's tough with a schedule when you're busy and working full time to
for sure
be in a rec league. But we kind of said to ourselves, it's like, why isn't there something in like competitive esports that functions the way that rec league sports does? So we're like, well, why don't we just try and make one?
Yeah.
So that was basically the foundation for how we started the Toronto Overwatch Beer League.
Yeah, man. So you make movies by day and then you drink beer and play Overwatch by night.
That's right. Yeah.
Sounds like the dream. Right,
yeah, I was
there.
gonna say your job rocks.
so you make movies, but like, are these like movies? Are they short films? Are they TV shows? Or what? Do you specialize? I guess, or is it you're kind of all over the place?
Mostly I work in the film and television industry. Mostly, I mean, Toronto is just very busy, mostly with TV. There are features that get shot here, but they're not as often.
Yep.
So most of what I work on ends up being television. But yeah, I work on predominantly bigger budget shows. I guess one of the more well-known ones I worked on in the past couple of years was Star Trek. But like I'm one cog in a very big machine, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah, it's just it very much is a job, even though it's a very cool job, and you get to see some interesting things and meet interesting people. But yeah, it's it's a job where you'll go to work with like 100+ people all trying to make something awesome for people to enjoy. Yeah.
It must be a really cool environment too, right? I feel like everyone in the industry is like super, super creative and stuff like that, right? So it must be like a very fun, interesting group of people to work with.
It's a very diverse environment. Like there's people from all different kinds of backgrounds because there's really like every kind of job on a film set.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Like one thing I tell people that if they're looking for a career and they don't really know anything about the film industry is that like if there is almost anything that you do well, there's a job in the film industry for
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
like and like even accountants, right? Like the film industry needs accountants. The film industry needs like construct like carpenters. They need people that can like that are graphic designers. Like there's every kind of job. There is a film industry job
Like,
of that pretty much, right?
It's funny
Which
that you
is
mentioned that because I would think it's almost the exact same with esports too, right? Like it's sort of like people always say I want to work in esports, I want to be a professional gamer or a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer. People say I want to work in the film industry, I want to be an actor or a director. But it's really cool to sort of sit back and be like, there's other ways to enter both of those industries without, you know what I mean, being Brad Pitt or Nick Merckx, right? Like you can, like there's other areas to enter it and show off your skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, esports is such a growth industry where there's there's so much like sort of being built up around the actual people playing these games right now.
Yeah.
That there's so many opportunities for people to like use their skill sets of all kinds of different professional backgrounds to like enhance the sport and the experience, right? So it's one of those things where I think as you see more money coming in, more investment, there's going to be more jobs and all kinds of diverse different jobs that are going to be coming in. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
super
and
exciting.
you know what I really like also about this story is that you weren't like a big like pro gamer, or you weren't like some person who is very involved in the scene before, and that's just kind of like us. Like we were a couple of people that have gamed throughout our childhood. We gamed in university. I don't know about Sensor, but I dropped off for a little bit there, and then Overwatch came around, and I
I played Rainbow Six a lot, but that's okay.
Yeah, you play Rainbow
Another
Six
great
a lot.
game.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing game. And then like once Overwatch came around, like I picked it back up. It's really cool because it just goes to show that you don't need to be already within the system to be able to contribute to it. And I think that's one thing that esports in general needs to take a note off from regular sports is to get a base of fans that aren't hardcore in the sport or gamers.
Yeah, all you need really is like you said, a skill set and a passion, and you can do something in either industry. I think that's really cool. I think it's also a good point that you brought up about one of the reasons why you initially created the beer league itself is like I completely agree, right? It's one of the most unfortunate parts about Overwatch. It's one of my favorite parts is how much teamwork goes into this game, right? Like more than almost any other game I've played, this game relies on teamwork, and it's a little bit unfortunate that the way that the competitive ranking system is set up, it's more beneficial to solo queue or duo stack as opposed to getting an actual team of 6 and playing together. And so it's awesome that you provide this environment for people who want to play the game the way it's meant to be played, as in a 6-stack, but don't have to go through the hurdles of doing it online where, okay, I know you have a 6-stack, but now you have to go up against a better 4-stack and a 2-stack, right? Or we're going to put a 3-stack, a 2-stack, and a 1-stack, but they're all like 200 SR higher than you because you have a 6-stack. And then you just get rolled, and it's like, yeah, we have 6 players, but we're having fun here. You know what I mean? Like we're not diamond yet. So I love the fact that you provide that opportunity for people to get that experience without having to. I mean, obviously, and we could talk about more, how the team selection process works. But it's not like you're just rolling the dice, being like, I hope I don't run into any diamonds on here. I hope I don't run into any masters.
Yeah, it's a weird problem with the way that they just they changed the sort of matchmaking, I guess MMR or whatever's happening behind the scenes when you start 6-stacking, because it definitely does feel different. And you're right, it's very prohibitive, which is unfortunate because I think like especially when they added the new group up feature and stuff like that, if they made it feel more fair, like it was going to be the same level of difficulty as you would get if you soloed or duoed, then the reaction would be that just everyone would be doing that. And that would definitely be a more enjoyable experience. But Blizzard has their reasons, I guess.
Yeah, because I've used the group up feature before, and so one, I think you actually get less SR. If you win with the 6-stack, you get less, and if you lose, you get more than if you solo queued. I think that's one of the issues. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while since I've done it. I'm not sure if they switched it since, but it used to be like that. But the other thing is, I found out we were either rolling teams or we were getting slapped, right? There was no mid, and every once in a while, you got that middle ground where it was like a 6-5 victory, and I was like, man, this is the most fun I've ever had playing this game, right? You do it for 10 matches, and you get 1 or 2 that were fantastic, and then you get the rest of them were just rolls one way or the other.
Well, I feel like that's the high that you chase playing this game.
Exactly.
After you've been playing Overwatch for a while, is you long for those games where you get that close match where you just eke out a victory or whatever, right? And it's so rare. But when you get it, it's such a satisfying feeling.
Oh my god, yeah. Especially when you had the 6-stack and it's you're losing, but you're like, oh man, we should try this strategy with this counter picks, and then all of a sudden you start winning, and then they counter pick you, and you're like, man, this is what the game, this is what the game is supposed to be, and everyone there who's using the group up system knows the game. They know which heroes are meta, which heroes to play. It's a great experience.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's what we've strived to create in the beer league is we really try to make sure that one, by playing with the same team every week, that people have that experience of knowing how their team's going to play, and two, we really try to make sure that the teams end up as balanced as possible so that games can feel competitive as often as possible. So it's we basically we focused in on that high, that experience that is the best part of Overwatch, and we're okay, how do we make this happen as often as possible?
So no, absolutely. So let's talk about that then. How do you, because obviously Chris is on has his SR, I have my SR, you have your SR, and there's a lot of people who have higher SR as well as some who have lower. So how do you go about ensuring that the teams are as balanced as possible?
So Overwatch, the Overwatch Beer League now, we're going into our 4th season.
Wow.
What we've been trying to do is refine kind of drafting system. So we typically will allow teams to sign up as groups, but typically people will sign up as 3 or 4 as a team, not have a full team. And then we'll have an individual draft. So at the start, before the season starts, people can draft to sort of fill out their team. And that's usually where we get the opportunity to try and make sure things balance out. So we'll make sure that people know, what people's SR is, what their kind of skill set is, as best as we can. And then we give teams a priority in drafting based on sort of what their skill level is and sort of how strong their team looks on paper in advance. And what we actually did last season that we had tremendous success with is we actually instituted an SR cap. So essentially the way it works is that we have the top 6 players SR from each team get calculated as a part of a cap. So you need to make sure that those top 6 players average out to a certain level SR based on the overall player.
That's so cool. So you're the salary cap from
that's really nice.
the NHL and
exactly.
But you're doing an SR cap. That's smart. I didn't even think about that. That's really cool.
Well, I mean, that probably is. Oh, sorry. I was just saying that probably is, a big problem that did you have to deal with within the first season or two? Is just being able to balance those SRs.
Yeah. In the first season, it was kind of hilarious because we had middling attendance. It was sort of a proof of concept. We had about 30 something players, and we had 6 teams. So the one of the teams early on, there were some people that flaked out and they kind of dropped out. So we kind of auto drafted a team. We just basically said, well, here's the best available person on paper at this point in the draft, and so they would just draft that. It ended up being this team that had a top 500 player. It had diamond players, and they just stomped everyone. And it wasn't intentional. That's just how things. And part of the problem too was at that time there wasn't really any way for us to verify that if someone showed up, or if they signed up, that they would come and show up on the day. So we would draft people to teams, and then they wouldn't come, and it was a bit of a learning experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why you do it. On year 4, so I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons over the time. Because I was gonna say, I feel like if what's stopping a team of 6 of grandmasters just showing up and just smoking everyone?
Yeah, essentially, like technically they could sign up, they could register. But
Yeah.
what we would do is myself or one of the admins on the like for the league would basically contact them and say like, look, based on who we have signed up right now and your team, there is really no way that you're going to be able to adhere to the SR cap, and you'll have to break up your team is usually what we tell people. We'll say
Okay.
like, look, if you guys like, if a couple of you want to go on one team and a couple of you want to go on the other, we can make this work. Like we'll usually try and find some sort of a satisfactory
Yeah.
balance. But we've had
Mhm.
people that wanted to sign up as a team in last season that we basically just had to say like, you can't have all of your guys. So some of them didn't join, unfortunately. Some of them decided to go independently,
Yeah.
like, and sign up as individuals in the draft. But luckily, like we've found ways to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which
That's
is
mostly a tough. Yeah, I was gonna say a tough thing to balance because on one hand you never want to turn away people, right? Like it's about building community, it's about having fun.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, you can't have
what I-
6 grandmasters just slap everyone. Then it's not fun, right? It's not fun for every
exactly.
team they play
It's only
against.
fun for one team.
Exactly, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, come on, guys. So
Yeah,
that's tough.
exactly.
Yeah, I get that. No, the SR
So
cap's really cool.
Yeah, my
yes.
philosophy on it is sort of like you can't have your fun at the expense of everyone else's fun. Is
Yeah.
kind of how I try to think about it for teams in the league. It's like I want everyone to have fun, but if the only way you have fun is by making sure no one else has fun, then
Yeah, exactly.
that's not going to work. Yeah.
So what's it like
So-
now with the? Sorry, Chris. I'll give you in a second. I was just gonna ask. What's it like now with the 2-2-2 lock going into the beer league? Because that
So
must be an
this'll the
interesting.
first-
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll be the first season that we do the 2-2-2 lock. I don't really want to get too much into like how we're calculating people's SR relative to our SR
Yeah.
cap, because as I never thought this would be a problem when I first came up with the idea, but I do try keep it a bit vague because I'm worried about people gaming the system.
Yeah.
Because oddly enough, like you would think no one would want to tank their actual like live in server
Yeah,
SR, but
it would.
a lot of people that have played in the league really enjoy it so much that they actually like that's the thing they look forward to the most. Like that's they
Yeah.
don't care as much about
Really?
ladder. They are more concerned about having fun in the beer league.
Yeah.
So as a result, we have a system that we are implementing for trying it. Basically, we come up with a number for people's SR based on the data that we have on their profiles and stuff. So we're looking at their 222 beta numbers. We're looking at other seasons numbers and stuff like that, and then we're
Yeah.
coming up with what we think is a very reasonable number. That kind of
Mhm.
averages out for them. Yeah.
Didn't think people smurfing would be a problem in the beer league too.
Yeah. Some
Yeah,
intense
yeah.
analytics going on here.
The nice thing is though is like after a few seasons, like people's faces, so it's like people come
Exactly.
back and it's like, well, we know where you should be at. You can't tell me that you're a gold player when the other season you signed up as a diamond. Like, come on,
Yeah.
you
Come
know?
on,
Yeah.
dude. So I guess on that note, you started off with 30 people, and what are you at now? Like, how many teams are you running?
So last season we had 8 teams, and I believe we had 90 signups.
Nice.
Yeah, so we had somewhere in the 90s of players signed up. So that was our strongest season to date, and it's great because I mean, the thing about a rec league like this is that you don't want just 16 players on a team. We
Yeah.
play 7 regular season weeks, and then we play a playoff week. So it's 2 months of commitment, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I usually encourage teams to do is make sure they have about 10 players on their team.
Yeah.
They can rotate people in, but then what's going to happen through the course of the season is like they'll come to a point where they'll only have 6 on the day. Like people,
Mhm.
can't come in for whatever reason. So you want to make sure that you always have 6 when you need them.
Exactly.
That's really smart.
And
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so just to clarify for those listening, I think I know the answer, but this is all done in person, right? Like this isn't like,
Yes.
oh, we have a team, we just play online. You set up a custom game. This is like everybody goes to the Hive, I believe, and
That's
they
right.
sit down, they play in person. So like, you really do get that aspect of community because you see your team every week.
Exactly. That was one of the big factors that was that we were very insistent on when we were coming up with this idea is
Yeah.
that we wanted to make sure that this is something that you like interact with people face to face every time you play.
Yeah.
Because if you're just playing ladder, or not ladder, but like if you're just playing basically pugs or like a like a season of like online games.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have that same, like, you don't have that same sort of relationship with the people you're playing with. You know, like, you don't have one thing that's big for me, at least, is like you don't have the same kind of respect for the people that you're playing. You know, like, you got to be able to, like, whatever you do in that game, you have to be able to look those other people in the eye after and shake their hand.
Exactly.
That's kind of my mentality about it. So, yeah, we do play it at the Hive, and one of the big reasons for that is they have a liquor license. So
exactly.
We can actually drink beer while we play Overwatch. And yeah, they've
before,
been
after, during, you know.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that we started doing as of season 2, but we've done it much more in last season, is that we also stream the games while they're being played, so people can hang around and not just like come for their game. They come, they watch the other games being played. We have a dude, Falcon. He's our caster, and he just basically, like, he'll be casting there the whole time.
That's so cool.
Co-cast with him. So yeah, there's other elements of it that make it enjoyable beyond just coming in and playing Overwatch. Like, we have really tried to make it a social experience beyond just the games.
That sounds like very, very interesting, and it's great that you are doing that, because I know that, you know, one thing that's really separated, you know, sports from esports is that community sense. You know, I used to play rugby a couple of years ago. You know, I'm still great friends with my buddies on that team, but, you know, I played Rainbow Six a couple of years ago, and
Oh, no way. Did we lose Chris?
He's still in here, but yeah, we lost voice
Chris,
for a second.
Hello.
No, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, so you cut out. Keep going.
You're playing Rainbow Six.
You're playing Rainbow Six, yeah.
No, I played Rainbow Six, and I didn't have any friends from that. That's what I was just saying.
Right.
Like, that's really tackling, you know, one of the, I think the biggest challenges in esports right now is creating a sense of community to get people to, like, commit. You know, you want to commit for people you know, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to commit for those people you can share a beer with, but you don't necessarily want to if you just know them through a screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, oddly enough, I played rugby as well, so I can relate very much to that experience. And that was part
I did not.
But that was definitely part of my own personal sort of, like, vision of what I wanted to see, is that, like, you know, when I used to play rugby, played in a men's league, so you play a game, and then afterwards you would meet with that other team at the local pub, and you'd all drink beers, basically. So you'd spend 80 minutes beating the crap out of each other, but then you all have a beer, and it's a really, like, there's a lot of camaraderie, right?
Therapeutic almost, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's all is forgiven by the end of the day, most of the time. And I wanted to see that in esports, because, like, yeah, there's I think an unfortunate kind of competitive mentality in esports by and large that isn't very healthy. And I think stuff like you know, a more social environment is kind of the key to making it a little bit more of a healthy experience. Like, you know, in game, people get heated, and, like, this happens in any kind of sports. You like, you're heated, you're fired up, and the people that you're playing against are not your friends. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see them like that. But after the game, that's when you can actually, like, you can actually relate over the fact that you all enjoy this thing together, right? So an online environment, you just never have that second part. There's no experience to that. So that's why I think things like this are something that I think would be actually really helpful for esports at large. And you see it in the fighting game community, right? Like, there's definitely more of a sense of, like, these are people that know each other. They have a relationship based on the game, and there's like a friendly rivalry based on that, right? So I mean, I think there are other sports and stuff like esports, like the fighting game community, that are good examples to look to try and make things a little bit more healthy.
I was gonna say that's one of the biggest differences in sports and esports is sorry, I say esports loosely. I mean, like, playing ranked online. The toxicity towards your own teammates, right? Like, it's not like that in hockey or basketball or football, because you're right. Usually you have to look the person in the eye. You usually know them. You have conversations before or after the game, so you have a certain level of respect, and you know that everyone there has the same level, or at least a similar level of passion, right? They're coming out there. They're coming out to the games. They signed up. They're showing up. they're playing every game. Whereas when it's online, you don't know the person, so it's so easy to flame your own teammates, which is like one of the issues, right? Like I'm all for banter. I'm all for two teams talking trash. Like I like the idea of streaming because one, it gives a sense of community, people hanging out, but two, you can get some friendly banter if you got a game coming up the next week and you see them playing, you know what I mean? Like I like the idea that it opens a door for that. But obviously when it's geared towards your own teammates, and I mean I've been more than guilty of this playing Overwatch, but I know it's not right? Like I know it's not the right way to do things, and it's one of the worst parts about video games is that the toxicity within a team.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can relate. I've been frustrated. I've said not very constructive things to teammates before, sure. But you're right. I think like it's a detriment to the experience, and I think it's a pretty universal thing that if there's anything people tend to complain about in online gaming sort of communities, it's toxicity, it's flaming. And I think that's like you said, that's kind of the part of it is like you're never face to face and you never really have like a relationship with these people other than when you're in a match together. So yeah, I think like ideally, honestly, to me, like I want there to be more things like what we're doing with the beer league. Like I want there to be more recreational, like sort of gaming experiences, because that's to me like the best way to have a relationship with a game, like a competitive game.
So I was actually one of our other questions we had was, do you have any plans to expand in the future for more titles, or are you kind of hoping that someone else maybe takes that on, or are you just focused on Overwatch and that's all you really have time for?
Actually, I personally want to see like I want to kind of move on to other games that I enjoy as well, and have similar kind of rec league stuff as what I've done with the beer league. One thing I'm trying to sort of hand off the Overwatch beer league to some of the volunteers and organizers that have been helping me over the past couple seasons, so I can focus a little bit more on working on some other rec leagues and things like that. The thing is, like, for me, this isn't it's not really something I look to as a career necessarily that I want to build. For me, it's just I want to see something in this environment, so I'm just making it until there's something better. It's kind of my way of looking at it. I really like the way I look at it. I'm very much not competitive when it comes to this stuff. Like I want to see as much of like recreational, like esports activity and competitive gaming as possible. So I've had people reach out, ask like how they could do something similar, and I've just offered as much advice as I could possibly give, because I want to see these things, like I want to see stuff like this everywhere personally. Like I want to see stuff like this as become like a norm in terms of gaming culture, because I think that would just make gaming culture a lot better. So I want to do what I can to expand and have a couple other games. Like I don't know exactly what the next move is per se, but a couple of games that have been very intriguing to me would be Rainbow Six. Actually, I think that would be a really fun game to have a similar kind of experience with.
For sure.
And also a couple of single player online ones, like I think StarCraft 2 might be a little long in the tooth at this point, but one that I'm kind of excited for is the Warcraft 3 Reforged when that comes out.
Interesting.
I think I've been really excited about coming up with an idea for a kind of like a tournament or basically like a series or season of tournaments or whatever that would be local and a sort of a way to meet fellow players and kind of create like a ladder system on that, like a local ladder system. So whenever that comes out, which Blizzard has been it seems a little cagey on, like they announced it a while ago, and I don't know when they actually plan on releasing it, but when that comes out, that may be another thing that I kind of tackle, because I'm a big Warcraft fan, and Warcraft 3 was such an awesome game, so I think it would be a pretty cool one to have a game like that, like an experience like that.
You can even get like that's the best part about this is that you can attribute it to any game, right? Like I completely agree with Rainbow Six, because next to Overwatch, it's so team focused, right? I mean, I've never played. I've never played MOBAs growing up, so I'm sure League of Legends and Dota 2 are just as team focused as well. But from the games that I've played, I put Overwatch number 1 in terms of the importance of working together as a team, and I put Rainbow Six number 2. I think Rainbow Six you can carry a little bit more than in Overwatch, but that'd be a really cool experience. But yeah, the best part is you could do this with anything, right? Like you could set up every Sunday people get together, have some drinks, and grind World of Warcraft Classic, right? Like you could do it with.
Yeah.
When I first told my friend, I was like, yeah, I'm having the guy from the Overwatch League beer league on the podcast. He's never, his name's actually Eric too, which is funny, but he's never heard of the beer league. But he was like, he's like, oh, is there something like for Fortnite? Like, do they have that for Rainbow? Like, and I was like, no, they don't. But I'll ask him. That's the plan in the future. So instantly it was like, yo, that's a good idea. Now I don't really play Overwatch, but can I do this for this game? Can I do this for this game? So
totally.
So yeah, no, I think
I've had that response a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, one of the things that's actually really funny is so we actually do have a beer league sponsor, like a sponsor for the beer at the beer league. It's Cameron's. Yeah, Cameron's Brewing is actually the sponsor at the venue for us.
That's
so we
awesome.
get like a beer special.
Is that like a local brewery too?
Yeah, they're based out of I think Oakville.
Nice.
So we have like a craft beer sponsor. I like to joke.
Shout out to Cameron's.
Yeah, exactly. I like to joke that we have a better beer sponsor than the Overwatch League does,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think anyone has a better beer sponsor than the Overwatch League does.
But so I've talked to the rep for them, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't really play Overwatch." He's like, "But he's like, I love Rainbow Six. I'm terrible at it, but I would totally play something like that."
Yeah.
And similarly, he plays like softball and stuff. He's like, "Man, I would love to do that for Rainbow Six."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've gotten that response, like that kind of reaction a lot, which is like, I don't play this game, but I play this game. And I would totally do that. Like I would play this like in this way if there was something like this for the game I play. So yeah, that's why I say like I just want to see that become more common. If other people were doing that, I would be stoked because I would probably sign up for their leagues.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, just out of curiosity, do you guys have a prize for the winning team?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
That's a great question. We don't do cash prizes. We've done like we give them like swag, like we gave them like a bunch of Cameron's gear. We've given them some other stuff like that. Like we don't do anything with any monetary prize associated with it. And the reason why is because what I've found is that anytime you attach like a cash prize to an esports event, you get a very different crowd of people that comes to be a part of it.
Like I don't know if you heard, but the winners of the CNE Gaming Garage tournament got disqualified for substance abuse.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I don't know exactly. Like, I mean, I heard this through the grapevine. Interestingly enough, as a little bit of backstory to that, we had a team, a beer league representative team that was in that tournament as well. Yeah. They're mostly Masters players, and we kind of like got the best of the sort of the best and brightest of the beer league to compete. And they lost to that team actually.
No way!
Disqualified. And the other thing I had heard through the grapevine is apparently they had a top 500 player who was hardware banned from the game playing on a Smurf account.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane. Like, because we were talking, we had the podcast right after the CNE. So for the record, for those who don't know, or you didn't hear last week's episode, this is at the CNE Gaming Garage at the exhibition in Toronto. They had like this Overwatch tournament. It was like a $5,000 prize pool. I think the winners get like $2,500, I think is what it was. So that's actually how we met, was at that event. And
that's correct, yeah.
And we talked about, I was like, man, the winning team was incredible. Like, I actually really liked their like enthusiasm. I mean, looking back on it now, it makes a little bit more sense. They're like screaming and they were hopped up, they're high-fiving each other. They were like, but at the time I was like, oh, that's cool. They're super competitive. They're into it. And we talked about, and I don't know who's hardware banned, and I'm not going to throw accusations out there because I don't want to throw.
I can't verify the claim.
Exactly.
So yeah,
but
I don't want to.
Their DPS Dimes was incredible. Like, was performing out of this world. Like, he was like, I told Chris, I was like, man, it was probably the most impressive fire I've ever seen in person, and it still might be. But it's super unfortunate that what I had taken away as such a positive experience, like this really cool tournament in Toronto. A lot of really talented players came out, and even if it was, some less talented players in terms of not being top 500 or grandmaster, it seemed like everyone had fun, right? Like overall, I thought it was a really great experience. A little bit unfortunate that it sort of clouded that a little bit, but I'm more interested in how they got caught.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about that too, to be honest. I don't know that part of the story.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way. Like, did they make you? Like, there's no way they made you pee in a cup, right? Like, just, like you guys didn't have to do that, right?
Yeah, so
I'm sure it's just
I
like
don't know
word
if
of mouth.
they may have like literally just found like the physical sort of substance in question on their persons, but yeah, I don't really know.
Maybe.
As a side note, I will say that Dime specifically was not that top 500 person, at least. Like, because I'm pretty sure he's a known quantity as a TESPA player.
Yeah, he's really good, by the way.
Yeah, he's
He's insanely good.
I think he's U of T, but I can't say definitively.
That makes sense. I didn't look into him, and I should have, because I saw him play Pharah, and I told Chris, and it was before the final map. I said they're gonna win this map, and he was like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because it's a Pharah map." Like, you're actually watching on the screen right now. It was this map. I was like, "There's no way they lose this map." Like, this kid's incredible. And sure enough, they won it, and that was the final one. So I mean, I'm glad it's not him, because the kid's a talent. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Is like, I mean, that was a decent prize pool. I think the top team got 2,500.
Yeah, I think it was 25.
But again, that's across 6 people, right? So like, when you really do the math, like you're not talking about a lot of money individually, right? Like it's less than $500 a person.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference. It really does. Like, just the kind of people that show up. I think it's partially for bragging rights to say that you did like win prize pool money.
Yeah.
So you just kind of get a different mentality. And the last thing I wanted to do is have a league where people would show up, play their game, roll people or whatever, and then just get up and walk away.
No,
because if that's what's happening, I'm like, well, that's not different than being on ladder.
Yeah, exactly. You want that sense of community. Yeah. So there's, I understand that there's no cash prize, but is there a prize?
Yeah. So I mean, we gave people T-shirts and stuff, and there's a trophy. I mean, there is a trophy that you get your name on. So I think that's cool. Like, that's the thing that I try to sell to people. Like, there's bragging rights, right? Like, having your team's name on that trophy definitely makes it matter more.
Every winner gets a free 6-pack of Cameron's.
And I mean, like, the venue's great too. They like lay out a whole platter, like a whole like table of food and
the Hive's fantastic. Just for anyone who's never been to the Hive or doesn't know what the Hive is, it's this gaming bar in Toronto. And I mean, if you're listening to this podcast and you enjoy gaming and alcohol, it's the place to be. They have some really cool events there.
Yeah, and they're great because, like, if you want to watch esports, if you want to play, if you want to, like, just hang out with people, if you want to do like stuff on consoles, they've got they kind of do everything, which is cool. It's a great venue, but yeah, so there isn't much in terms of like a monetary or like kind of value to winning, but it's really about like you get bragging rights, they give you stuff as in appreciation to say like congratulations, but that's as far as we try to take it, because what I've found is that there's plenty of incentive for people to want to win the tournament. Like, it gets pretty heated in the playoffs.
No, I bet.
But it keeps it at the right sort of level. Where people aren't, you don't get people coming in that just want to win money. They want to win because they want to beat the other team.
Yeah, and it's the definition of like competitive nature. Like, no one wins. You don't get any money for winning like single A hockky, right? But
exactly.
But people still show up, and people still want to compete. You still want to win.
Exactly. You're still trying your ass off, right?
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, there was just one thing I wanted to sort of say about that. Actually, never mind. We'll come back to it. I just kind of lost my train of thought there.
No problem. Yeah. I'm trying to think of oh my god, I lost my train of thought too.
Meta.
Sure.
I was just trying to think of oh, you know what, Chris, you're gonna have to come in here, man. I think we're throwing here. Oh, meta.
Okay, double barrier. What do you think you can counter that?
So personally, just as someone playing on ladder, I think it's as someone that plays a lot of tank, it's kind of boring. I mean, like, it's not goats. It definitely has a different flavor to it. But one thing I find interesting is that Goats kind of changed, I think, the mentality of how people play Overwatch, and survivability has become the name of the game. Like keeping your team up is how you win that game now. And like, you know, Goats did it really well, to the point where it was frustrating and for some hard to watch. But now you see, even with 222, it's the same game. It's just you just do it with different characters, right?
Yeah.
So you get like really tanky, survivable DPS like Reaper and May, and then you get like barriers everywhere, so nothing dies, and you just keep your team up. I think the really unfortunate thing about the double barrier thing is just how much it makes Sim such a strong pick
on the ladder. Could not agree more.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is like she's very fragile if you focus her. But like that's the thing, is that your game plan when you see a Sim on the other team, from my experience, has to be like, all right, take the Sim down before all else, because if she gets charged up, it's like it's worse than Zarya. It's insane.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say. The fact that I don't mind characters who haven't been in meta previously becoming a meta, but it sucks when like Sim's like not fun to play against. Like the fact that her turrets slow you down and you get lasered really quickly. It's like, man, I don't even mind if she was just a squishy who did a lot of damage. I'd be okay with that. It's her turrets that bother me. It's the fact that she can just teleport around, put turrets behind you. It slows you down. It's frustrating.
I gotta add to that though. The one thing that makes it frustrating isn't the turrets. It's just that the people, as we all play tank here, and our job isn't to get the turrets. Like I can't hit that with my Reinhardt hammer. The problem is that the people whose job it is to take out these turrets, which are typically easy to take out, don't do it.
And part of that comes in the elo you play as. Part of that comes from not the communication. Sometimes no one's in chat, so it's like okay. But I will say this though, I think it's if you think it's boring, I'm assuming you're a main tank player. Then you play the Orisa.
I usually play a lot of Orisa. I haven't been playing Sigma. I find him super fun to play.
That's what I was gonna say. I think Sigma's fun. Like Sigma's getting a lot of hate online, and I think the double shield is unfortunate. I think when Sigma was introduced, it was not the intention of Blizzard or anyone who created the character to have him play alongside Orisa, because the Orisa gets the short end of the stick in this situation. But I think Sigma's a fan. Like people are like, man, delete Sigma, nerf Sigma. This is BS. If there was a Sigma Zarya meta, I think it'd be the best take meta next to Goats we've ever had in terms of like a fun tank line. Because Sigma's like everyone's talking trash about how powerful it is. It's like, sorry, there's finally a main tank that has some carry potential. Like you know, you've had 3 years as a DPS main of having carry potential. We get one character and everybody loses their mind. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I agree that the double shield's unfortunate, but I like Sigma as a character.
Same, and my little hot take of the day is I'm just gonna say, like, I totally disagree with people that say that Sigma is an off tank. He is a main tank. He's just a fragile main tank. Like, his kit is totally designed around absorbing and mitigating damage. And like, just because he has a pretty high damage output doesn't make him an off tank. It just means that he's got some, like you said, carry potential. But he also has a very low HP pool. He's slow. Like he's
exploitable. He's absolutely exploitable. There's 100% counters to Sigma that it's mitigated by the fact that you can run the Orisa with him, and that double shield is so powerful right now. So I agree that has to be fixed, but I completely agree with you. He's a main tank who can frag. And that kind of makes him off tanky, but he doesn't synergize really with any main tanks aside from there's 2 shields forehead, right? Like sit behind the shield. That's the only really. So if Blizzard can make it where Sigma Zarya is the meta, like I think we're in, because you even talked about Goats, and Chris and I have said multiple times in this show, I miss Goats, man. I never hated on Goats. I think I'm not fully especially from a rank perspective. Goats has to be the most fun meta to play because every single role was fun. Every single role had carry potential and had a frag opportunity outside of like maybe the Lucio, and even the Lucio had a very important role. Like that was one where like all 6, it was fun to play. Reinhardt, you got to swing your hammer a lot. Zarya, you were max charged the entire time. Diva got to go mobile and eat ults and play high ground and shoot from the back line. Like Zenyatta was really fun to play. Brigida was fun to play. I personally miss it, and from a competitive perspective, I thought it was really easy to follow, and I think it really added cooldown management to the game as well, which I think was an aspect of Overwatch that was missing. I think the Reaper May meta was way worse in my opinion, but that's our hot take of the day. It's nice that it's kind of gotten away from May, and we're starting to see Doomfist. So the current meta is Orisa, Sigma.
I don't know if I like Doomfist either.
Reaper. I will say this though, he's fun to watch. I'm not sure he's fun to play against, but to watch like Fitz, like if you're watching last night's playoff game, there was so many times where Fitz would go up. Because I think Doomfist players used to use their ult to disengage a lot, right? You'd go in, you'd get low, you'd ult, and it would be more for like retaking high ground or getting out as opposed to fragging. But the Halt Meteor Strike combos are so fun to watch. Doomfist goes up, you see the Halt sucks them together, and Fitz is dropping like 3Ks off of that. Like when you see the elite Doomfist players play, Chris, you're I know your messages are coming up. Chris has to go soon. Okay, so that's fine. We can wrap this up pretty soon. But yeah, I think it's a fun. I like Doomfist at the elite level.
I agree, but I would also definitely say like he's definitely not fun to play against.
No.
And I think there's a lot of kind of cheesy. Well, I feel like it's anything, but yeah,
support players especially.
DPS is in a weird place because I feel like there's a lot of kind of what you might call cheesy DPS that's very empowered right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not fun running into a Sim Bastion comp. It's not fun running into a Doomfist Reaper May. Exactly. It's all cheese. Like I don't mind losing to a really good McCree, but it's frustrating when I'm just getting frozen in Sim turret the entire game. And I'm like, okay, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But
I feel like maybe the skill barrier is moving away from technical, being able to click heads and moving more towards game sense and positioning.
Yeah, which
I'm okay with that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And to get back to what you're saying about goats, I think that was why goats was so great, is that like you basically could go on ladder, and if everyone knows how goats functions, you can go with 6 random people and play like a team.
Exactly.
Which you could never do with something like dive or a lot of the other metas.
Super hard, right? Super hard to coordinate.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I think that there's kind of, in a sense, there's no going back from goats in that, like, we see that this is a way that the game works well. It's almost more MOBA like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I don't think teams are going to give that up. They're just going to find new ways to make it happen, just in the 2-2-2 framework.
Exactly, and I like the idea of cooldown management. I like I think once you get away from double shield, hit scan is going to become more powerful in 2-2-2 because like McCree counters like Doomfist, Pharah, and Reaper seem to be the main 3 DPS being run in the Overwatch League right now, and like McCree hard counters essentially all of them. Even though Doomfist is a little bit less so at that level, but still. So I think once you fix the double shield and you start getting more exploitable tanks like a Zarya, for instance, I think it's going to be a much more enjoyable from the professional standpoint as well as the ranked play. We just need to get the Symmetras out of there as soon as possible. Because my God, she's annoying to play against.
Yeah. Well, no argument there.
But yeah.
Anyway.
So I think Chris is running out of time here, unfortunately. But it's is there anything else you want to, just any other closing comments you want to
plug your stuff?
Plug your stuff for sure.
Totally. So yeah, I just want to plug the beer league, Overwatch, Toronto Overwatch Beer League. Season 4 is starting in September. We have signups open now. Registration is ending on the 20th of September. So if you're listening to this and there's still time, if you're interested, please sign up. It's overwatchtoronto.org is our website. We're also on Twitter and Twitch and Instagram and all that. It's OverwatchTO. So yeah, just I hope we can get more players out and get some new faces in here and come check out, see what we're all about. Even if you don't actually want to play in the league, we play Sundays at the Hive starting September 29th. So if you're curious about it, come out, watch some games, meet some of the players, and yeah, just be part of the community.
Yeah, no, for
Awesome.
sure. We'll put that information in the description in the YouTube that'll be going up, so that you guys can find it there as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on and chat. It was a great conversation. Fortunate that we cut it a little bit short, but I think we covered some pretty cool topics here. So again, thank you so much for coming out.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure.
And on that note, I think we're good to go, guys. So thank you so much for listening. As always, this is CA Overwatch, and stay toxic. All right, we're gonna stop.